All right, Nick. Top 9. My app that I typically watch baseball games on right now on my phone for whatever reason has a bug. So I'm on game day, which basically means that I am significantly ahead of you. Speaking of getting ahead of things, I did deposit the money into the account. And I will be placing a large wager on this baseball team. It just wasn't today, which is very, very unfortunate. But I also think that might be the reason that it's 7-1. Because there's no way that this would have happened for me if I would have placed that. So I'm a man of my word. I'm not going to lie. I could get on here. I could say, yeah, I did it. We made the money. But that would be just wouldn't be the truth. So I know some are probably wondering. I really personally blame WTI Trader. He was in the chat. He was very much worried about my personal health. He was begging me not to do it. So as I went to place that bet, I thought WTI Trader said no. Should have trusted the chat. They've never let me down before, Nick. But big win if we can hold on to do it.
Let's not be saying that.
I said if there was an if there. I didn't say it was a big win. I said it's a big win if we can hold on to do it. Don't put that on me. I do go back to say, if you do this long enough, I guess that can go both ways, Nick.
I don't know what our biggest lead blown is. Was it opening day?
I don't even want to find out. I know the fact that Emilio Pagan is throwing, it showcases how bad it's been lately because typically you don't throw your shutdown closer or what you consider, I guess, your shutdown closer up 7-1. Dunny 17 disappointed. Jacob Doyle disappointed. I'm well aware. I understand. It's in my account, though. I got to tell you. It's in the account. All right. Nick, it's hard to know where you're at in this baseball game. Let me see if I can actually get it to work on my screen again. Told me 10 minutes. That's what it told me.
Not really paying attention, to be honest.
I mean, it still doesn't work. Who knew? What a shame. Pay all that money, you can't even get anything to work. I bet I could get the ESPN Putin. Does that play? I bet I could get the ES Putin to work right now if I dug around on the internet. But then I would be like 2 outs behind you, which is kind of a tough thing to deal with. Yeah. Mike Hart wants to know how many days, how many hours, and how many seconds until the trade deadline, Nick.
Just trying to get us up everywhere else. This is one of those games that I feel like the last 3 innings took 10 minutes.
Well, this game was a very, 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 very quick game, was it not?
It's it's about on track with what it should be, but it started slow and then it just like sped to the finish. I don't know.
What I've come to notice about you, that is Nick Kirby, is that if there are things that are going on in your life, which obviously are very understandable. You have 9 kids, you have a wife, you probably have 3 dogs and 6 cats. I don't know about the dogs and cats. There's a lot of responsibility at that household that probably, take away from time to time your ability to watch the game or your ability to stay locked in on a pitch-by-pitch basis. But my best guess is that if things aren't going as routinely and smoothly as you'd like them to go at the house, because why would they if you got 7 kids running around there? Probably not a good chance or a high likelihood that that's always going to happen. Your first go-to is to blame the time of the game, the start time of the game, or how fast or the pace of the game. There's somewhere in there you're just not satisfied with the way the game has gone. How do you hit a home run on that pitch? I would have liked to seen it, but my app doesn't work.
Was a rocket out of there.
Right center field? Where'd it go?
Right field.
Okay.
Right over Benson's head. I don't know if Benson moved left or right.
Well, it was like a little off the plate on the old game day thing. It did not look like a pitch you should be hitting out of the ballpark, but hey, maybe he's got some big-time power. That is Kyle Sowers.
I don't know if they tracked time off the bat to like the seat, but that felt like it had to be like one of the fastest ones straight to a seat.
It got to the moon deck quick, you're saying?
Yeah. It was like no arc to it. It just...
Tell you what, not being able to watch the game, pretty tough. Pretty tough right now.
1-1 count. Top 9, 2 outs. Some dude named Hicks is at the plate. Batter timeout.
Yeah. It'll probably work as soon as the in-play outs is on my screen. It doesn't work. I officially give up trying. 2-2. That's what I got. Saving all the ammo for the show. What a massive baseball game tomorrow is. Golly.
You just missed Tyler Stevenson whiffing on a pitch.
What do you mean?
He went to catch. It was a ball outside. He went to catch. Just it hit
splitter?
his glove and bounced. Yeah. Just
Gotcha. I think I'm gonna pitch ahead because I was like, well, that's not what I see.
Yeah.
You must have just now seen the 5th pitch.
Yeah, I don't know. MLB TV lately, like, there's been like 4 or 5. I think I'm actually legitimately live today. There we go. There's been like 4 or 5 times like it has not been live, and I thought I was live.
Boom.
But the game's
game day says that the Reds win. So
Yeah,
I officially am allowed to say.
I can confirm.
I'm officially allowed to say the Reds win. Although I didn't see it, I'd like to think that it did happen. All right, folks, we got a show, and thank the Lord that they won, because if not, it was going to be a really rough one. But you know what? They won, so who cares? Doesn't matter. We'll see you in just a bit.
Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benson are backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Hatteberg is a good player?
Done up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the line, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream begins in the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Nick. The day has come. We have survived what is being on the brink of a sweep. I must tell you, this baseball team doesn't get swept. They've yet to do it. Maybe that will be the banner that we hang at the end of this season. If it's not going to be a World Series banner, perhaps we can just say we're the only team in Major League Baseball that did not get swept in 2025. Something to be proud of. I know people might make a joke about it, but it's quite literally what has kept this team in the hunt, if you want to call it that. Nick, I don't think that one win is going to ever probably get you in a spot at this point in the season where you feel like everything's fixed. I'm sure we'll discuss what we've seen in this game and more, but it was a breath of fresh air to see them get some big hits early in a baseball game and get out ahead and kind of maybe take a little bit of that pressure off when you for all intents and purposes, we all knew what this game meant. It was very much as close to a must-win game as you can get at this point in the season.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. If you've watched the show, I'm not a guy who likes to throw around the must-win very liberally, but if there was ever a must-win game in July, this one was it. So, yeah, nice to see Andrew Abbott just put the team on his back once again. Great to see Noelvi Marte, just that swing, man. That's the kind of thing that really can get you optimistic is seeing that swing from Noelvi Marte. Wish he could have played the full 9 innings on a night he hit a home run, but oh well.
Yeah, I definitely think that Marte is going to be a topic of conversation on this show, and in fact, he's on the rundown, so he will be. And I think that there's some positives and there's some cause for concern that we'll discuss here in just a bit. But before we do that, as always, like the stream if you haven't already. Thank you for jumping on the show each and every single night. Jacob Doyle chimes in right off the rip, says, "That's it. Buxton trades back on. Aggressive buyer mode activated. Sell the farm." I think there's some probably jokes in there. I think Jacob Doyle's trying to be a little funny there. Nick Kirby clearly is not a Buxton guy. He thinks he's made of glass, and I'll tell you what,
he is made of glass.
You add him onto what some would say onto this baseball team and this franchise, and dare I say, I'm not saying it, but some would say this medical staff. Boy, Buxton would be fine china, but that's here nor there. On a night like tonight, we're not talking about Byron Buxton. We're talking about the Cincinnati Reds. They, like I said, they looked like they just had more comfortable at bats tonight. That's easy to say when you have the success they had. But Ellie De La Cruz, boy, he's the straw that stirs the drink more times than not. It feels like to me when this offense is going well. If he finds himself on base multiple times a night, good things usually happen. But overall, great night. Box score recap. Don't know if you're ready for it yet, but if you are, you can go ahead and take it away before we jump into the nuts and bolts of this thing and maybe some worthwhile conversations around what this team looks like.
All right, Reds taking on the Marlins. Game 3 of 4 at Great American Ballpark. Andrew Abbott against Sandy Alcantara. Reds jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the bottom of the first on RBI hits from Ellie, Austin Hayes, and Tyler Stevenson. Noelvi Marte crushed a 2-run home run in the fourth to make it 5-0, and an RBI double from Ellie made it 6-0. More than enough for Andrew Abbott. Didn't allow a run until the 8th inning. Final line, 7 2/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Season ERA now sits at 2.07. Tony Santillan threw a scoreless 8th. Emilio Pagan gave the Marlins a courtesy run in the 9th. Reds win 7-2. Reds snap their 4-game losing streak, have not lost 5 games all season, extend their historic streak of not getting swept this season, and end the Marlins franchise record 11-game road winning streak. Reds back above 500, 47-46. And with the Giants' 13-0 loss earlier today, Reds pick up a game now 3.5 out of the final wild card spot.
All right, we got a deep drive of the day coming off the bat of Will Benson. Willie Beebe. Beaming Will. 8th home run of the year, 111 off the bat. For those that care, that's 22 degrees. That's not very high launch angle, as some would say. Some might even categorize that as a piss missile. Not me, but some. Reds, at that point in the game, would have a 7-1 lead, and the win probability was 99.8. That's damn near the amount of germs that hand sanitizers kill. Anyways, as we all know, that's 100%. By the time this thing was all over in DSC, they are 100% a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. All right. They always say the cliche term to use would be momentum is only as good as your next day's starter, and that very much was the case today. We were talking about on this show what Alcatraz was capable of doing, and I'm going to keep calling him that because that's just what he's going to be to me. We were supposed to be concerned about his 7.18 ERA, and we had our, I guess at this point, safe to say our ace all-star Andrew Abbott on the mound, and he did what he did what he's done all year long. He kind of floats around the zone, mixes his pitches up relatively well, paints the corners, and finds a way to get outs time and time and time again, and he did just that. And like I said before, Nick, it was nice to see him capitalize on a couple misfortunate things that also happened. I don't want to get into this too soon. I'm not trying to go down to the next topic right away. But there was some unfortunate errors, if you want to call it that. But I think he got a ground ball that got him a double play, and it allowed you to kind of eliminate the threat because at that time they were one swing of the bat away. It might be easy to forget, but they were one swing away from tying the game after you just climbed out to an early 3-0 lead. So give Andrew Abbott all the credit in the world. It's easy to sit back and say, well, he had a lot of run support, not that difficult. Well, he did his job. Whether he got the run support or not, it doesn't matter. He did exactly what you needed him to do on a night like tonight, and that was throw the ball over the plate, get outs, get them often, and give this team a little bit of a breather here as they move on into, a homestand that doesn't give them a break, too, by the way. Like, the bullpen is probably something we have not discussed a lot about, but the truth is that you can't rely too heavily on this bullpen time and time again. And thankfully today the offense, coupled by Andrew Abbott, made us not have to rely wholeheartedly on them.
Yeah, right off the rip, I mean, he gave up a double to the second batter that was absolutely crushed, and kind of felt in that moment in the top of the first, like, oh boy, here we go. And but he bared down, fell behind the next hitter to 3-0, ended up striking him out. Struck out the next batter on 3 pitches to get out of the inning. And then from there, overall, I mean, it felt like he cruised. I didn't get to watch every single pitch of the game, but it didn't really feel like, I know there was outside of the airs, it didn't really feel like Abbott was felt like he was in control the rest of the game. And I mean, he's just had an unbelievable season. I don't know how long he can keep up this level of dominance, but you talk about players who have kept the Reds afloat. Andrew Abbott's right up there at the top of the list. This team would be absolutely dead without the heroic first half of the season from Andrew Abbott.
Heroic's a good term because I think that it's very similar to what we talk about when it comes to a good offensive lineup about passing the baton. You very much can be carried by just a couple guys offensively if they're red hot. I think that you could say the same case maybe from a staff perspective, and Andrew Abbott has been that guy that's been red hot, that has allowed them to hand him the ball, every 5th day or really however it shakes out with the off days. And he's done a marvelous job. You can't overstate, how good he's been. I just don't think that you can. So, it's easy to fly by Andrew Abbott. I don't mean it to feel like that. I'm very also thankful that he's got down-to-earth parents. We got to see them get interviewed for what seemed like half the game. There's a little bit of a joke in there. But, hey, got like 40 family members going down to Atlanta. Best of luck to them in that traffic, by the way. Is there anywhere in the world that has traffic as nightmarish as Atlanta? I've not been to L.A., but my guess is that's the only place that I've heard could be worse. So good luck to him and his family as they try to navigate that.
Isn't that better now? Isn't their stadiums out? I haven't been down there, but isn't their stadium in the suburbs now to kind of alleviate some of that?
I don't know. All I know is that I've been through 75 Atlanta enough times to know that place is a nightmare. So that's here.
Okay.
Are you a big Atlanta drive through Atlanta guy? Have you driven through Atlanta a lot?
No, I haven't driven through Atlanta in 20 years. Probably.
Well, your life is.
I just know they moved to the suburbs, so they're in a little bit of a different spot out there. People were mad about that.
Maybe so. I don't know. My guess, though, is if I had to guess, I can already see it that maybe, not to get too personal here, but were they having rumors that the team was going to move if they couldn't figure out a negotiated contract from the county, so they were going to move to a different county? Was that part of it? I feel like
the Atlanta Braves probably got to be one of the more secure teams in their city in baseball.
Yeah. Turns out they didn't leave; they just moved the stadium. Okay, yeah. All right.
Would you like to see the Reds in the suburbs?
No, I'm not a. I wholeheartedly think that just adds to the atmosphere of going into the city and feeling like you got to get to a big game. Some people get upset by those types of things. There's nothing better sometimes than a little bit of traffic jam on the way out of a ballpark after a big win at Great American. I'm just saying. Maybe that's now a loss is tough. Trust me. I'm not here to say it's great when you lose and you have to sit in traffic. But sometimes it's fun. Maybe you're leaving the ball game, you're sitting in traffic, you're listening to our show after a big win. That's maybe not peak life, but it's pretty up there. Speaking of peak, Noelvi Marte had some swings that remind you why you get excited for a guy like this. He also had some instances in the field here where it's also quite concerning to me as well. I feel like we are at a very, very delicate balance point with Noelvi and his mental state when it comes to trying to throw a baseball. We'll talk about that here in just a bit, but I really want to focus perhaps on the swings that he was capable of putting together tonight that remind you of why we were excited about this core back at the end of 2023. And what was a big swing, by the way. It wasn't like it was a, no disrespect to Will Benson's home run, but Noelvi's home run felt like a big swing from a cushion standpoint in this baseball game.
Yeah, Alcantara had really kind of settled into that point. I think he'd only allowed one base runner, I think, in innings 2 and 3. And so the game had kind of stabilized. It was 3-0, and that was a big home run to put the Reds up 5-0. Just the swing was just the classic Noelvi Marte swing that I think a lot of us fell in love with. And yeah, it's just great to see. I mean, he's just another guy that has legitimate bona fide upside. A player that, I mean, only has 427 career at-bats. That's it. I mean, that's like a 2/3 of a season, 3/4 of a season.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
He's still so young. Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible talent. The biggest question for him is not, in my opinion, is he a big league talent? It's, can he play third base?
Yeah, I think it's a good segue to what I'm concerned about, obviously, and I've hinted at this before, and yips is a very strong term. I want people to know that I don't think he's not there yet. I mean, yips is, when you say someone has the yips, it's almost incapable of doing it. Think of Lester trying to throw the ball on a pickoff to first base. Think of Chuck Knobloch back in the day trying to throw the ball to first base. That's when you're at a nightmarish stage. We're nowhere near there yet. I guess where I'm concerned at the most is there's certainly a hitch. There's a guiding of the baseball. There's a fear of trying to throw it. I mean, I know when he catches the ball, and I respect Barry Larkin an immense amount when he talks about infield play. I know that we kind of downplay perhaps his broadcast capabilities, but I clearly the guy was a Hall of Fame infielder. But I think he's talking about fundamentals a little too much sometimes, because it to me seems like more of just a mental hurdle that Noelvi has to get past. He's making maybe fundamental mistakes because he's, in my opinion, just scared to throw the ball over there. It's almost like a timing mechanism thing of catching it. The reason I think this, Nick, is because he doesn't have an arm problem. He clearly has a really good, strong arm. It's the plays where he doesn't make the mistake, Nick, are, in my opinion, the ones that are like, you don't have time to think. Like, those are the ones that he makes good plays on. If he has to backhand a ball in the hole, or he goes deep into kind of the 5 hole to where between third and shortstop, for those that don't know what that is, he doesn't have an issue making that throw. It's the ones kind of that are right at him, or the ones that are just a short backhand to where he has a little bit of time to consider what he's doing, to where he gets himself in trouble. And how you fix that, to be very clear, I don't know if there's a direct answer. Some guys' mental makeup are different than others. Some of them can get out there and work on fundamentals all day long, and then as soon as the game happens, things change. It's not the same. They're not capable of replicating it. I think you just got to see it through, and hopefully you can take some pressure off of him by making it feel like if he makes a mistake, you're not just going to rip him out of the game. And to be clear, I don't think Tito's doing that. Totally. But when you have a lead that's this big, I would have liked for him to stay in there, because it's just like he knows he has a problem right now, and everyone's telling him he has a problem right now. It's like, and I'm not trying to say you need to coddle everybody, but I don't know, man. I just feel like the worst thing you can do for Noelvi right now is being like, hey, we're going to go out here for 3 hours before the game, and Barry Larkin's going to work on you with your fundamentals on how to throw the ball to first base. If there's a way to just say, hey, just go be an athlete, man. And if he makes 4, 5, 6 good throws in a row, you might never hear about it, forget it ever again. But what I'm saying is we're at this delicate balance now, Nick, where I feel like you start to put a lot of emphasis on it, you make a couple more bad throws, and this thing just spirals out of control where it turns into way more of a deal than it should be. And I think that's where we're at right now. We're at a balancing point that I'm hopeful doesn't rear its ugly head. That's just my humble opinion watching the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't really understand some of the decisions that are made because Matt McClain can continue to stay in the 2-hole to give him confidence all year long. Spencer Steer gets to play every day in April, but Noelvi Marte plays bad defense in a game that he was the star of the game offensively, and he gets yanked from the game. I don't understand that logic. It's time to get rid of Santiago Espinal. I like Santiago Espinal. I came on the show and defended Santiago Espinal. I think Santiago Espinal could be a valuable player for a playoff team, but this team cannot have him on this roster because of how he continues to get used. I mean, when you see Noelvi Marte smoke a home run, and then you look at Santiago Espinal's page, and the guy's gotten 280 at-bats for this team this year, it's ridiculous. Get rid of him, send him to AAA, trade him, whatever, because the way that he gets used is ridiculous, and it's just insanity.
Yeah, I mean, I get your frustration. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I ultimately understand where the frustration comes from because clearly the ceiling, if you want to call it that, for Noelvi is just incredibly higher. I guess there's a soft spot in the heart, if you want to call it that, for Tito, for guys that he feels like he can trust defensively. When we talk about, I guess Spencer Steer getting a leash, Spencer Steer's played a good defensive side of the ball, so maybe that's where you're at. Santiago Espinal getting a leash, he's played good, and I say good just generically. I don't want to get into the analytics of all. I'm just saying from a perception standpoint, they've been good defenders. Matt McClain's been a good defender. He gets a long leash about, hitting in the 2-hole, and he's hitting, 200 all year. So it seems like to me, offensively, Tito is very willing to let guys see it all the way through. But if you struggle defensively a little bit at all, you might as well forget about it because you're not going to get too many more opportunities. Now, some of that depends on who's behind you and whether they're pushing you out, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I'm not going to sit here and blame the coaching staff or anyone else if Noelvi continues to struggle throwing the ball to first base. But to me, this is complete mental, 100% mental. And he has the talent, he has the capabilities, he has the hands, he has the arm strength. It's all there. It's whether or not he's fundamentally capable of just letting it rip and being accurate with the throw. I'm not trying to say he's completely guiding the baseball, but if you watch it, there's a hitch there. It's either he's taking an extra pat on the glove, he's shuffling one extra too many times, he might be looking at the base runner for a half a second. You might think that that's fundamental, right? And some would say, well, yeah, it's bad fundamentals. He's making those mistakes, and trust me, I've had a very small, brief moment when I played that this can happen. You're trying your best to not make a mistake instead of trying your best to make a play. We've all been in places in our lives at some point where you have that mentality. And as soon as he's capable of getting over the idea of not trying to make a mistake instead of just making a play, he will be fine. The question is, what kind of pressure is he either going to put on himself or what kind of pressure is going to come internally from him knowing that he can't make a mistake or else there will be repercussions because he doesn't play because of the mistake. That we will find out, Nick. And I hope we don't find out because he makes all the plays in the world. But I'm with you. I mean, if you're going to pull him out of a game where it's 7-1 because he's made a couple throwing errors, I got to tell you, Nick, it's hard for me to sit here and think that you're going to be able to trust Tito. Put it this way. It's hard for me to consider Tito trusting him playing defense in a big spot if he doesn't trust him when they're up 7-1 in a baseball game against the Marlins. So time will tell. We will see. But you are going to see, by the way, him being defensively replaced, I think, late in games almost every single time if this is how we did it tonight, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this team's 47-46. They need players with upside to have any chance of having the season go anywhere. And Santiago Espinal's just not a player with upside. It's as simple as that. Noelvi Marte is clearly a player with upside. And I just don't understand. I would love it if someone would have asked that question tonight, like exactly how you laid out. Like, pulled Marte from the game. You worried about, his confidence and things like that. And you had a big lead, but I'm sure it won't get asked.
I don't know.
Or brushed over.
I don't think he'll get the appropriate answer. I think that they'll protect him by saying, "Well, we just kind of wanted to give, we wanted to make give. I don't know, Santiago Espinal a chance to get his feet wet and keep him active. I don't know. Clearly, it was he's. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's pulled CES in the middle of a baseball game because he took a poor angle to the baseball and made an error at third base. He's defensively replaced Noelvi Marte after he's struggled to throw the ball, and he has struggled to throw the ball over there mightily. He doesn't have nearly the amount of errors that he could have had. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's thrown a couple balls in the dirt that Spencer Steer's dug out. He throws a ball high tonight that Spencer Steer goes up and gets and makes a really good swipe tag. So he's been fortunate that it's not really reared its ugly head from an error standpoint. But just from clearly, I think, Nick, last thing I want to say on this, clearly behind the scenes, in my opinion, it's a very big problem because it's almost as if they've seen even more than I've seen with his inability to throw the ball accurately to first base. Again, maybe I'm overblowing this, and I hope that I am. But I even see in the chat, and obviously Craig's a big part of the show, so I want to bring this up. If you were to move him to the outfield in regards to the throwing accuracy being different there, I do think that's fundamentally a much different throw. I'm not suggesting that's what they do right this second, but for those that are acting like, well, if he can't throw the ball at third base, he can't throw the ball anywhere, that's not totally true. I mean, you can very much play the outfield and let it rip. The same way, if a catcher gets the yips, can't throw the ball back to the pitcher, but if you try to steal on that same catcher, he can throw a bullet down to second base and get the guy out. Why is that, some might ask? Because you don't have time to think. You don't have time to think. And I hope that Noelvi can get out of his own head, move on, make the throw that he's capable of making, and we don't have to worry about all this. But I think it's very important to at least say on the front end, this is very much an evident thing, and you should be paying attention to it during the games and seeing if we can kind of get past this stage that is Noelvi guiding the ball or wishing the ball to first base.
I think he'd be a perfectly fine outfielder. I think he could settle into that role in right field. He's got a strong arm, and he's incredibly fast. I don't think people realize how quick he is. So he could get to a lot of balls in the outfield. The problem is you want to make sure he can't play third base before you just throw him out there in the outfield, in my opinion, because it's significantly more difficult to go find a third baseman on the free agent market than a corner outfielder. And there's a lot of players that you can shuffle in and out in the outfield that it just, you've seen it this year. I mean, how many guys the Reds tried at third base that have been absolute dumpster fires there, either defensively or offensively. There's been a single one all year that's been able to do both sides of the ball. So that's why I'm not in a rush to move him. But at the same time, like, if you don't trust Noelvi Marte to play third base the last 2 innings with a big lead, why is he playing there? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's it's a good question to ask. I think it's a fair question to ask, and I think the only evident answer is that they feel like they need some pop in the lineup, and it's oddly enough, Noelvi is batting ninth. So it's kind of hard to justify, right? You're like, well, we want him in the lineup because of his bat, but he's hitting ninth, and the only reason that we really want to kind of relieve him of his duties is because we don't think he can play a solid third base or a consistent enough third base to trust him throughout all 9 innings. It's really kind of a head scratcher at times of what exactly they're doing with that. But you know what? If you can hit, you'll find a place to play. And if Noelvi continues to hit the ball like he did tonight, they'll figure it all out one way or the other. The issue is that we need Santiago Espinal's glove maybe and Noelvi's bat in one player. And I would ask everybody, what do we think is closer? Do we think that Espinal's bat is possibly closer to Noelvi's bat, or do you think Noelvi's glove could be closer to Santiago's glove? I know my answer. I know what I think one would be closer than the other, and I would say that that's the side I would kind of fall on, is taking my chances. But perhaps some might think that there's some pop in Santiago's bat that I haven't seen.
Well, first, before I answer that, it feels like McLean and Marte should maybe be swapped in the lineup. Like, McLean's in there for his glove. He should probably be the guy batting ninth. If Marte's in there for his bat, he should probably be the one batting second. Feels like that would, track a little bit better.
It would.
There might be a better argument to playing Santiago Espinal and just going with the defense if A, you had a better lineup, 1 through 8 everywhere else.
Yes.
And 2, or B, whatever I was saying.
Sure.
The gap between you and a playoff team was small, not big like it feels right now. You need the upside. So
yes,
Santiago's glove, even if it is better as a trade-off to Marte's bat, is not going to get you to the postseason. What's going to get you to the postseason is players like Marte, like McLean, like Steer, like Benson, having big second halves and showing more of the promise and the hope that we have in them than maybe we've seen from some of those players so far.
I think that was perfectly said. I mean, essentially, for you to do something that you're going to be proud about at the end of the year, extremely excited about, you're going to have to make up some ground. And the only way that I can see that, I'm not saying you got to use wins above replacement as the stat or anything like that, but what player gives you the chance to possibly overexceed enough to get you into the postseason? And the answer is pretty clear. So, and it's not, again, I don't think either one of us are trying to downplay Santiago Espinal. It's just that we don't have the luxury, I guess, at this point to be able to play Santiago Espinal at third base specifically with how poor he's played at the plate. It all goes back, I guess, Nick, if you want to get down to it. Espinal's role at this point would be a defensive replacement late in the game, and it's also obviously hitting left-handed pitching. And anything outside of that is crazy noise, and we'll see if that's the plan moving forward. I don't know.
Espinal has 174 plate appearances against right-handed pitching this year. That's the problem. If he's in there to hit against lefties, which he has half of the amount of plate appearances against, that's fine. He hasn't been great. He actually has pretty good numbers still against left-handed pitching, 292 on the year, 344 on base percentage. No power, but you know what? With his glove, that's a fine player. But the problem is he's been used 174 times to the plate against right-handed pitching, which he's never hit a lick of in his entire career.
Right.
So either use him right or get rid of him. Like, it's that simple to me.
Yeah, and to be clear, tonight I think he was used in the right role if it's a close baseball game. Like it's perfect. It's perfectly fine to bring him in the 8th inning with maybe at most one more at bat, and you're up by. I think the minimum is you have to be up by at least 2 runs with 6 outs or less. That's what I would say. I think that was a question asked on X. Is when do you bring in Espinal in a spot like that? I think that, again, not to get into the analytics of it all, but if your win probability at the time is a 70+% in the baseball game, and that would require you to be in a tight game late in the game, then I would venture to be perfectly fine with that. I guess the ultimate question is what we've said time and time again, and we will find out, and it's something to keep an eye on if you're a fan. I think it's actually one of the nuances of this baseball team right now is if you're not going to trust Noelvi to play like tonight, it'll be interesting to see how he's utilized moving forward. And if you're not going to trust him to play in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, it's really hard to justify automatically putting him in the lineup at that position because you're already admitting that you don't trust him when it matters the most, but you're willing to play him 7 innings a day at that position that you don't trust him at. That doesn't add up to me. But as far as worst case scenario, Nick, Marte can't hit the broadside of a barn if he tries to throw the ball to first base. Let's just say he makes 5 throwing errors in the next 2 days. I hate to say this, but you still can service Noelvi Marte either at DH or you can stick him in the outfield because I think that and again, do I want to put him in the outfield? No. That's last case resort. But he is fast, like you said, and I do trust him to be able to throw the baseball from the outfield because I don't think that you have to have nearly the amount of thought process that goes into making a accurate throw to first base versus trying to hit a cutoff man from the outfield. So, all right. As always, please like the stream if you haven't already. We have some super chats. I'm going to get to those right now before we jump into the ad reads. And I'm also going to share some news. That I want to tell everybody about. It's not 100% signed, but it's so close to signed. We're going to do it right after this. I'm going to save Molly's super chat for the last one for that reason. Jacob Doyle, we already got to him about Buxton. Putrid Talent says Trace and Elliott trying to get in good. No, not necessarily. But thank you if you're watching those videos. Molly says, what is the big announcement? We'll do that last. Max Bryant chimes in with a nothing burger of a super chat. Maybe you said it outside of that. I'll look for that super chat, Max. Kay Weaver says, during his prep time at the beginning of each of these streams, you guys need to put up a banner over Nick's head that says loading. Oh, man. That's funny because that's 100% true. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if it's not a very, very tight baseball game and Nick gets on and he starts complaining about either the start time of the game, the pace of the game, the way the game kind of unfolded, it was about the right time, but, it was slow at the beginning and then it went really fast. That means Nick has some stuff he's trying to do behind the scenes, and he's just a little perturbed because he's got too many things going on, and he realizes that he's not capable of being fully invested in the stream. And that is when you know your partner really, really well. So, Kay Weaver, really good, astute analysis there. Might not be a bad thing to just put a loading thought bubble above his head until he's ready to go, and then he can clear that graphic. I love that idea. Ned Flanders says, I placed a $10,000 bet that every Red would get a hit tonight. Sigh, Espinal. You didn't do that. And I must admit, I felt terrible when I didn't put some good old coin on the Redlegs tonight. But you know what? Sometimes you swing and miss. No Fly Zone 25-21 says a fun fact of the night. Juan Castro accumulated a negative 5.4 WAR in a 17-year career. That's getting it done, man. That's getting it done. Nobody benefited more than Juan Castro not having an analytics department while maybe he was playing. But, hey, Juan Castro could pick it, though. Do you think, I'm a quick, curious question before we jump into Molly. Do you think that WAR undervalues fielding? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if Juan Castro, I'm just trying to defend him a little bit. Like, if you're a great defender, it's maybe you don't get as much credit as you would if you were just a great offensive player and a horrific defender.
Well, I mean, that's a very nuanced question here because the way that WAR was calculated for players during when Juan Castro played is different now because there's new defensive metrics that we've established are better. So, in Juan Castro's era, the defense no StatCast, of WAR isn't exactly as accurate. Although I don't think I feel like it overall didn't really. Juan Castro got what he deserved with this WAR record. I mean, if you look at his overall body of work, WAR's not perfect now, but it's getting better and better each year. There's still going to be players that are going to be outliers, good or bad, but there's less of those outliers as there was maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
Fair. All right. Molly. She asks, what's the big announcement? All right. Listen, we've been trying to sell, obviously what we do on a daily basis for quite some time. And there's a lot of folks that have the ways they've advertised for forever and they don't really come off of those things, et cetera, et cetera. And there's, basically some companies that kind of see the value in what we are and what we're doing, and they believe in us. And we are going to do some live shows from Smoke Justice. We are also going to do a Chatterbox Reds night, and coupled with that, so the goal is to get a bunch of people at Smoke Justice for the game, walk over, after kind of a pregame show, if you want to call it that, and then take in the game obviously together, and then go on our merry way. We'll have a post-game show. To be very clear, it just wouldn't be myself and Nick on that night, because we will obviously be at the pregame show at Smoke Justice, and then we will also head in. Smoke Justice is going to do some pregame shows with us at their facility in Covington, or I should say at their restaurant in Covington, and then they're also going to support us for some other advertising with some Bengals content as well. So big deal for us. The place, unbelievably nice. Has a stage already built into the place for us to be there at, and very, 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 very nice place. So goal is to get as many of us that are in the chat loyally on a night in, night out basis. If you live somewhat locally down there, we can meet each other. And more importantly, hopefully, if you've not been to Smoke Justice, you can go and visit it for the first time and see, like I did for the very first time, how nice it is, and support their business, because they are very much supporting us, and it's a big deal. I know maybe we try not to get too into the weeds of the business side of this whole thing, and it's very much just two guys on a nightly basis, with some others obviously, but we're trying to make this fun, entertaining, enjoyable, and not try to make it too corporate, because that's not fun. But it takes a lot to make this thing go, and they're a big part of that. So we'll have more details on that. It is in Covington, and hopefully we can get as many people down there as humanly possible, because it would be a great first impression for their owner and for that group that believed in us, that we do have people that care about this show, and we do have people that care about, obviously, what we're doing. So it would mean a lot to me. It'd mean a lot to us if you could visit us down there. I'm going to give you the date right now. It's going to be on July 29th. We will do a couple more than just the 29th as well, to be clear. But it's going to be July 29th, and it will be at Great American Ballpark after we go to Smoke Justice, and they will be playing the Los Angeles Dodgers. So a very good baseball team. I'm going to call the Reds tomorrow. I'm going to try to figure out what opportunities exist for a Chatterbox Reds night to go down there, and hopefully I will have some semblance of what we can do together on the 29th tomorrow. I don't know what group tickets are available. I don't know if there's suites available. We'll get into all of that. My goal is to keep the price of the tickets. We're not making money off of it, but hopefully we can find an area of the ballpark that is somewhat confined to where we can kind of enjoy the game together as Chatterbox Reds. If we have to just be in the ballpark sitting in the moon deck or something like that, then that's what we'll do as well. But I'd like for us to have our own confined space. All right. Hopefully, we'll see you there. How about that? Hopefully we'll see you there.
I'll be there the 29th as well.
Yes.
People asking in the chat. I'll be there for that one. Probably won't be there for the other ones if they're later in the year due to a child coming.
Well, that's what Nick does. Nick has a child every 9 months. That's part of what the Kirby family does. So shout out to Nick. Congrats to Nick. Also, on a night like tonight, just want to remind everybody, 988 is still available. You can text or call day or night. It's okay to not be okay. You can also visit mantherapy.org if you're ever in need. Any other super chats before we move on here? No.
Aaron was asking, how do we find tickets for Chatterbox Night? It's not yet. We haven't yet figured that aspect out. Yes. We promise you when we do, we'll spam you with every possible way of making sure
I'm basically gonna call the Reds tomorrow, figure out what the group ticket opportunities look like on a night like that. I don't know, just because it's maybe the Dodgers, maybe, who knows, all of their suites and all of their stuff sold out. It is on a Tuesday, so it is 3-2-1 night, so I think that's obviously a little popular as well. You add in the idea that one of the better teams in the league is going to be here, and the end of July, I should say, and you might have yourself a crowded ballpark, which I would love to be a part of. I hope it's sold out. The question is what's available. So I'll find that out tomorrow. We'll have answers, and hopefully we can pack it.
Also, Hug Watch season.
It is Hug Watch season. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we're making some trades. Maybe Byron Buxton will be playing his first game.
Maybe. I'm going to have to pull over on my drive down and do a live stream when the Reds make a move.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
From the rest area and what's the city between?
I don't know. You're coming from Cleveland, so certainly Columbus would be one. Grove City.
What
else
trying
you
to think
got?
of something a little more obscure. Ashland.
There you go.
Live from Ashland, Ohio.
Ashland, if I remember right, they had like a really high-end gas station. I don't know what it was called. No free ads, but I feel like
So
Ashland.
it's an elite gas station,
Yes.
but the prices are outrageous. So,
Oh, of course,
boy
Nick
does
is
not
it.
stop there.
I
I mean, we're talking. We're talking everything is $1 more at that gas station. So I know which ones to stop, and that is definitely not one of them.
Fair enough. But we'll give you plenty of time. I see WTI is coming from Nashville, he says. I'm kidding there a little bit. Hopefully you can make it a point to come because I'd love for us to pack that place on the very, very first show, walk over to the ballpark together, and enjoy a nice night of Reds baseball. All right. I don't think we have a too heavy of a back half here, but Nick's already thrown up the 988, although I just did – hey – It's never too much to do it twice. I think Nick might have missed the first 988 call. That's okay, but we'll do it again. If you're ever in need, if your mind is ever perhaps not very at peace, perhaps like kind of Nick, he's scrambling all over the place on a night like tonight. You can always, as a reminder, text and/or call 988. And visit marintherapy.org as well if you ever need it. Will Benson, you got him on the rundown. Why wouldn't you? I think that Will Benson's kind of a unique player in the sense that, he's a streaky kind of guy. He even reminds me a little bit, perhaps this is a little bit disrespectful to Jay Bruce because I think Jay Bruce was a great player. I'm not trying to put him in the same category as Jay Bruce. But I don't know if it's just because they both play right field. I don't know if it's just because they're both left-handed. But they remind me in a little bit of a way of each other in the sense that they can get really, really hot, and then they can go 0 for 14 with 7 or 8 strikeouts in a row, and then the rest of the fan base is saying they're terrible, and then all of a sudden they carry your baseball team for 2 weeks. So Will Benson, a big swing tonight, and hopefully it continues because I think he hits the ball hard, and his at-bats look very, very much like a competitive big leaguer this season, way more than it has in the past, and I certainly hope that he continues to find his stride.
Jay Bruce is an interesting comp. I don't hate that. I mean, I don't think Benson has as high a ceiling as Jay Bruce. I mean, Jay Bruce had about a 3 or 4 year stretch where he was really good. I don't know if Benson can get to that level, but they both were guys that came up, were on fire at first. Bruce really struggled for a while and kind of pulled himself back out. Great to see Benson just, I guess, have a result that went his way. Like you said, he's hit the ball hard. I was looking at StatCast earlier today, one of Benson's hard hit outs early in the game. Benson was, I believe, 36th in baseball in expected weighted on base average, which I think is the best expected stat to overall rate your performance, basically the WRC plus of expected stats. He ranked 36th. There's not another Red that ranked in the top 75. Ellie was like 77th. And I think Benson was 9th in terms of the gap between his expected versus his actual. He was top 10 and the worst luck with that. So good to see him get a result. I will die on the hill that he's a better player than Jake Fraley. Certainly has far more upside than Jake Fraley, and Fraley's on a rehab assignment. I hope Fraley comes back, and I think you can put him into a role, but I don't think it should be taking at-bats away from Will Benson. So I hope Will Benson can get hot and not potentially lose that spot. Because I will say they have Tito and whoever else makes all the decisions. They have rode with Benson despite some bad luck, and I hope that they're following the same track that I am, and I think you are as well. That he fits. He looks the part right now, and he looks like a guy that you should continue to give at bats for until he proves otherwise.
Completely agree. I think you can watch the at bat and sometimes get more out of what it looks like than just sitting there just basically going off whatever the result was. And I just felt like more times than not this year, Will Benson looks like a guy that has done a good job of commanding the strike zone a bit and putting the ball on the bat and hitting it hard more times than not. I mean, he hits the ball hard. He really does. Now, I mean, sometimes it's right at guys, but that's just part of it. And the same reason that you kind of say you want to see Noelvi can continue to get opportunities at third base because you just feel like the ceiling could possibly get you to a point where, man, that's different. That actually gives you a chance to perhaps find the postseason. I say the same thing with Will Benson. I also think that there's a chance that maybe you lose 2 extra games in a season because you play Will Benson instead of some other retread you stick out there. That's if everything goes absolutely horrible, though, for Will Benson, in my opinion. I don't think that the floor for Will Benson is really all that much lower than Connor Joe's. I really don't think it's all that much lower than Jake Fraley's. But I do think, as you've said, what you possibly have in Will Benson is significantly higher. But it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. And I think that's the misleading thing that many people perhaps have put on us all year long. It's not that I sit here and champion Will Benson all the time because I think he's an all-star. I champion because I feel like he's the one guy that has a chance to play at a high level, even if it is streaky, even if it is fluky, even if it is lucky. I don't care how you frame it. There's a chance there. And we'll see if he continues to find a way to produce because, as you said, he can box Fraley out to where Fraley never gets another opportunity just based off the fact that Will Benson's playing so well. Connor Joe's still on the roster, so I think Jake Fraley would kind of, I would hope, take that spot, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't know if it really even matters. I just hope that Will Benson continues to find a way
I think Fraley
to get opportunities.
Spot.
Okay.
Fraley would take C because CES isn't even in like a platoon role. He's not in any role. They're not playing against anyone.
Right.
So I think he would replace him, and I think Fraley would be not a starter on a typical night against right-handed pitching, but with as often as Hayes needs days off. And, Fraley could be a valuable player even if he's not starting. I mean, you could be a guy that could, Benson has 2 at-bats. They bring in a lefty. You pinch hit Connor Joe or Espinal or whoever for Benson. And then you could go back to Jake Fraley. Right. So I think he could be valuable. I don't think he should be starting over Benson against right-handed pitching. I haven't seen enough.
All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, I have more confidence, Nick, than I have ever had in the fact that these younger players are going to continue to get opportunities because I think that they've proven themselves, in my opinion, enough to earn that right. It's like I have faith that Tito's going to stick through Noelvi Marte maybe struggling for a short period of time and Will Benson perhaps struggling for a short period of time and continue to get them opportunities over a retread that we might pick up. Trust me, it was dark for a minute. We had Garrett Hampson and Connor Joe in the same lineup when we had, guys that were playing pretty well at AAA, and we just decided they weren't good enough. So, and maybe they're not, to be clear. I don't know if they are, but I'd like to see it. All right, you have Hunter Green update. I guess at this point, how much can you put stock into all of this until you see him get back to the big league mound? But I'll let you kind of share or shed some light on that.
Yeah, I guess he's going to Arizona now for his rehab assignment. Just a very confusing set of events there. Francona, I believe the quote was, "There's no roadmap right now for him," which doesn't inspire confidence. I guess at this point, Green's he's out for the season until we see otherwise. I mean, that's kind of unfortunately where he's at in my head. I'm not going to bank on him coming back at any point, which is brutal because he's another player that it's hard to see this team getting anywhere without. So I don't know. I really hope that Hunter can get past this. I hope that this has just been a bad stretch. Knock on wood, kind of like, I guess, Nick Lodolo has had. I mean, Nick Lodolo, no one thought he was going to make every start ever in his career, and he's done it to this point of the season. So kind of crazy that Nick Lodolo now has better now feels like a more durable pitcher than Hunter Green. Who would have thought that?
Yeah, it's hard to figure it all out, isn't it? I mean, I think you brought up on the show, I think maybe last night that Wheeler kind of had some injury issues throughout his career, and then you kind of see what he looks like now. So there's hope that it all gets figured out. I don't want to give up on Hunter. I do understand the sentiment from some fans saying like, hey, if you can get a haul for Hunter, then you have to at least consider it based off, this reoccurring opportunity of him being out. And I think that's fair. It just, again, it comes down to what you get in return. And you also have to ask yourself, what's the window? And I hope we get to a point in this franchise where we don't talk about windows, because, I'd love to be rooting for a franchise that one guy gets shipped out and somebody's there ready to replace them immediately. But boy, it's a far cry, Nick, I got to say, from going from a team that's incapable of making the postseason time and time and time again to then thinking that they're going to magically be one of the most well-ran, perfect organizations in baseball where you can replace them. So there are times, Nick, where I got to tell you, I think, hey, I'm not saying you go all in, but I am saying that you have to, fundamentally know these are some formative years where we have maybe a 2 or 3 2-year window stretch where we've really got to make sure if there are some holes, let's see if we can't patch those up and fix them. I have a hard time believing that if you give away Hunter Green, you're going to get something in return that's going to make you think that you're going to have a top-of-the-line starter in the next 2 to 3 years. Now, can I also say, if Rhett Lauder was healthy and throwing the ball unbelievably well, and Chase Burns kind of was throwing the ball relatively well, you could start to kind of get a little cute, if you want to call it that, and justify maybe moving pieces because you think you already have the depth and the ability to kind of take a chance on trading a high-value, high peak stock guy. But I don't know if they're there yet. We'll see. I mean, the deadline's going to be fascinating because I don't know if they're buyers or sellers, to be honest with you, and it's going to be pretty damning one way or the other. Boy, this fan base is going to be pissed if they do nothing at all. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not against trading anyone. It's just how difficult it is to replace a top 10 Cy Young candidate like Hunter Green was last year.
Yep.
And how difficult it is to replace Ellie De La Cruz, a top 10 MVP candidate. Like those two players, and I think Chase Burns can very easily get slotted into that same conversation.
Right.
Those are the kind of players that can single-handedly fix a lot of flaws on your roster. Someone was challenging me yesterday, good conversation, about how the Brewers, how they kind of turned it around and how they turned it around quickly. And I was looking at 2018. Look at the 2018 Brewers roster. They had a lot of mediocre players, but they had Christian Yelich win the MVP. They had Lorenzo Cain finish 7th in the MVP voting, and Josh Hader as a reliever finished 7th in the Cy Young. And like their rotation was kind of mid-average. Their lineup overall was mid-average, but they had a couple just superstars that were players that were either homegrown or players that they acquired via trading or big giant free agent signings that just were absolute superstars. So I'm not against trading anyone, but the players that you don't have to squint to see them being superstars, those are the ones that it's impossible to replace them at their peak production.
Yeah, I'd rather have a couple superstars than to have a bunch of, for lack of a better term, average to slightly above average players. Because when you get to, we've not been there in so long that I don't think that this fan base could give a rat's tail about what I'm about to say. And trust me, I don't really know if I do either. But, we've not even as a fan base got to the point yet where we've looked past just getting to the postseason. But there will, hopefully, I'd like to think, I hope we as a fan base get to a point where we not only are worried about really getting to the postseason, but actually winning in the postseason. And in order to win in the postseason, you're more than likely going to need those MVP Cy Young type players. Now, to be very clear, we don't care about that right now because it's been so damn long. Sadly, as stupid as this sounds, we'd take our hearts getting ripped out again if it meant that we won a series and got to the NLCS. I mean, that's how sad this is. I guarantee you that if you polled every Reds fan privately and you said, hey, I'm just going to let you know, you will have one of the most devastating series losses that you'll ever witness in baseball in the NLCS. Will you sign up for that? I tell you, I think there'd be a lot of this fan base that would sign up for it, because that means we've won a series. And by God,
2 series.
Well, maybe they got to the DS because they won 100 and something games. But yes, I get your point. Regardless, they would have gotten farther in the postseason than they ever thought about being before. So, point stands. Maybe we don't really give a damn about winning in the postseason right now. We're just trying to get there, which makes sense. Put one thing in front of the next.
Yeah, I have friends up here in Cleveland that were complaining about the Guardians losing to the Yankees, and I was like, do you know what I would do to trade for that like Lane Thomas moment that you had against the Tigers? They even lost the series like 3-1 to the Yankees, but that game that they won, like, that was incredible. I was like, I dream of something like that. I would love to be the guy that's fighting people up. You know what I would be really good at, Trace? I would be really good at being the Brewers guy that tries to tell their fans, like, you should be appreciative for what you got. Because, they have fans that are going, we never advance in the postseason. We lose every year. This team's not built for... I think I'd be pretty good at navigating those waters.
I'd love to see what a Nick Kirby fan looks like if your team's one of the best teams in baseball. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I mean, you talk about you. The Big Red Machine would have to. You'd have people fighting you because they'd be trying to convince you that the Big Red Machine's better than the 2027 Cincinnati Reds, and you'd be bringing up some obscure stats just to piss them off. That's what you'd be doing.
Dream of those days.
Yeah, maybe one day. Starts like today's the day today, though. We had to find a way to win. Reds win. You have it wrong on the graphic. It's actually Reds 7.
No.
Marlins 2, but that's okay. Reds MILB. It is Wednesday, which means there was baseball played down on the farm, and you let us know all about it.
All right, 3 games went final already. We'll start off with Louisville, where the Bats beat the Columbus Clippers 7-3. Bats now 39-50 on the year. Jake Fraley 1 for 4, re-signs, another good night, 3 for 4 with a double. Blake Dunn 2 for 4. I think that's 30 consecutive games he's been on base. Has a really long on base streak. Good for him. Ryan Velade had a big day, a homer, double, and stole a base. A lot of pitching notes. Jose Franco unfortunately did not survive the first inning, but then the rest of the pitching was actually really good after. Hunter Parks threw 2 scoreless innings. How about Connor Phillips? 2 perfect innings with 3 strikeouts. That's really good to see. Love to see Connor Phillips find a way to carve out a reliever role. That could be huge for the Reds. Zach Maxwell threw a scoreless inning, struck out 2, did walk a batter. And Luis May, a perfect inning, struck out the side. So some really good pitching down at Louisville. Chattanooga's still in action. They trail 4-3 in the 8th inning to Rocket City. Edwin Arroyo, nice day so far. He is 2 for 3. You'll have to listen to the podcast tomorrow morning for the rest of that. Dayton, they played earlier this afternoon. They lost 5-1 to Beloit. Not a whole lot in that one. Carlos Jorge 1 for 3. Still his 25th base of the year. So he's really shown off some good speed. And then Luke Hayden, Reds 8th round pick last year. He got off to a great start this year. Had an ERA under 2 in his first 7 starts, but he's really struggled since. Didn't make it out of the first inning today for the Dragons. And last but not least, the Daytona Tortugas, they won 6-4 over Jupiter. Tortugas playing great baseball. They're currently holding a playoff spot in the Florida State League. Sammy Stafora walked twice till his 24th base of the year. Stafora's kind of been an on-base machine. I'd love to see him get promoted here at some point. Alfredo Duno 0 for 3 with a walk. And Michael Trotwine, nice day, on base 3 times and doubled. No action today out in Arizona or the Dominican Summer League.
No Rojas.
Not today.
On the books tonight. All right, we do have more baseball, and it is a massive opportunity, boy. It is a massive opportunity. The Reds, they find a way to win tomorrow. And next thing you know, you got a real chance here to kind of salvage this homestand. you lose tomorrow, and you almost got to be perfect just to make it to where you feel even somewhat okay about it. So, little who, what, when, where, and why, Nick?
5:10 start time tomorrow. So plan accordingly. I think this is Old Dominion tomorrow. I don't know why it's 5:10 tomorrow, but it's 5:10 tomorrow. Nick Lodolo going for the Reds kind of quietly. He's pitched well of late. 2.91 ERA over his last 4 starts. 23 strikeouts and just 6 walks. 21 and a third innings pitched. Struggled a little bit with the home runs. Allowed 5 home runs over his last 4 starts. Lodolo gave up 3 runs over 5 2/3 against Miami back in April. Career 2.82 ERA in 4 starts against the Fish. Active Marlins are 11 for 40. Xavier Edwards and Otto Lopez both just 1 for 6. Jesus Sanchez 3 for 7. Eric Wagaman hit a home run against him earlier this year. Cal Quantrill, interesting pitcher for the Marlins. He has not gotten an out past the 5th inning all season. He's been on the roster all year, has not gone past 5 innings one time. Batters hitting .370 with an OPS of nearly 1,300 the 3rd time through the order. So certainly seems like a guy that you would love to get to the 3rd time through as quick as possible. However, for the most part, he really has kept the Marlins in the game. He has not allowed more than 3 earned runs at any start since May 1st. ERA of 3.96 over that span. Throws up to 7 different pitches. Fastball averages 93. Curveball has been his most effective pitch. 0-2 with a 5.50 ERA in 5 career games. 3 of them starts against the Reds. Reds have only saw him once since 2022. Last year, Reds put up 5 runs and got him out after 2 innings. However, that was at Coors Field. Active Reds, 10 for 37. Gavin Lux is 3 for 11 with a triple. Tyler Stevenson, Jose Trevino, and Will Benson. Will Benson homered in his only plate appearance ever against Cal Quantrill. So certainly a winnable game. The Marlins didn't have a single right-handed batter in the lineup against Abbott tonight. I think their offense is a little better against right-handed pitching. So I think it's a good matchup for Lodolo. And yeah, I mean, this is a big opportunity to finish with a split, and then you have a chance to do something special against one of the historically worst teams in baseball.
At least at minimum, you feel like you can win a series and go 4-3 and at like I said, survive in advance. Is it good? No. Will you look back at the end of the year and wish you had this homestand over to do over again to possibly get yourself in a position where that would have gotten you over the hump? Maybe. But we've seen this baseball team time and time again, Nick, kind of do things that you didn't expect them to be able to do, like go through the month of June and play as well as they did against the opponents they had. So, I mean, there's still life. There's still life if you can find a way to win tomorrow and win a series against the Rockies. There's still life if you don't win tomorrow, but you sweep the Rockies. I just don't want to go into a series and feel like you have to sweep anybody, even if they're the world's worst team. I don't care. It's Major League Baseball. Goofy things can happen. I'd like to avoid that situation, and by God, maybe they win tomorrow, and maybe they sweep. And like I said before, that'd be the dumbest way in the world to get your 5-2 and head into the basically the break feeling like you accomplished exactly what you were hoping for before this series started. Baseball is a stupid game. Seems like it's a really dumb way to go about fandom, perhaps, on a day-to-day basis from time to time, but here we are. We do it. And it is a massive, massive game and opportunity tomorrow, and we'll see if they can find a way to win. And you know what? This is why you're a fan. If you're a diehard or you're a day-to-day kind of grinder for the Cincinnati Reds from a fandom perspective, I don't think the vast majority of this fan base that would be around if they were trying to make a postseason would understand the value of what the game's going to be tomorrow. Some might tell you it's just 1 of 162. I'm here to tell you I think it means a little bit more than that, because I think it also ultimately makes decisions on what this front office is going to possibly do at the deadline, and that could be either buyers or sellers, or maybe the worst thing, which is stand pat. Until then, I need you to do me a favor. Like the stream if you haven't already. We do have, of course, a dunk to get accomplished, so we will do that. And July 29th, Smoke Justice, I will have answers and details tomorrow on what that looks like from a group ticket perspective. I will try to make it as affordable as humanly possible. We'll just pass the cost directly over in regards to how much those tickets cost. We'll put it on our website. You can purchase the tickets on our website. And then from there, we will forward them to you in the Ballpark app. That's how that will work. And then we can all meet up at Smoke Justice, walk over to the baseball game, watch the Cincinnati Reds beat the Los Angeles Dodgers, and then go home very, very happy, and then wake up the next day and do the show again. But I got to tell you, I wish I would have put a lot of coin on it, but I didn't. So the next best thing is to find a way to dunk a basketball. So, Nick, got one final thing to say.
Reds 12-1 in their last 13 games against the Rockies.
Wow.
Win tomorrow. Win tomorrow.
That's all you need. Some would say it's a huge, huge opportunity. All right, time to be an athlete. Shout out to Fergie, by the way, for cleaning the basement. So they're thankful to her. It actually looks like it's a livable space now, so that's nice. As far as the other camera goes, well, sorry about it, but here goes nothing.